Hello, my name's Ruth Walker. I'm one of the assistant principals here at St Gregory's School, and I'm responsible for overseeing a very important transition between Year 6 and Year 7. We're so excited that you've chosen our wonderful school for your son or daughter. This is a really special time for you and for us, and even though we're not able to welcome you into the school in person at the moment owing to the current circumstances, I want to take this opportunity to introduce the school and some of the important things you might want to know before your child joins us in September. I would firstly just like to reassure you that I know exactly what you've been going through over the past few weeks. I have two children myself, one of whom started her Year 7 in September and one who is in Year 5, so we have experienced all the same excitements, worries and concerns about starting secondary school and managing the unusual situation of homeschooling, as well as the tears about the things that have been missed at the end of Year 6. The usual rites of passage are so important to our young people, and missing the SATs they will have worked so hard towards, the end of term trips away, and just spending time with friends they will have had possibly since they were 4 years old is a real shock and disappointment to them. We will do everything we can at St Gregory's to make the start of Year 7 a really positive experience for all our students, and although we cannot make up for the things they may have missed in Year 6, it's our sincere hope that a strong, fresh start will be just what they all need. I'm sure there'll be lots of questions you would like to ask, and we will make sure there is the chance for this to happen. However, the purpose of this presentation is to introduce our hopes and expectations for your young person, and hopefully at least some of the questions you might have will be answered in here. Settling into St Gregory's. I'm sure that one of the main things you and your son or daughter will be thinking about is how they will settle into a new and unfamiliar school, which apart from anything else is far larger than their primary school will have been. Young people are extremely adaptable, and they will learn their way around the school in no time, and to help with this, as part of their time in school at the very beginning of September, they will go on a walking tour of the school with their AOL tutor. I'll take a couple of minutes now to explain the areas of learning, or AOL structure, within St Gregory's. This is a system that has been embedded in the school and has been in place since 2006, so it's well established. There are 5 areas of learning in the school, each of which is made up of a combination of complementary subjects. You may know which AOL your child will be in if they have an older sibling at the school, as we do our very best to keep families together. If this is your first child to attend St Gregory's, you won't find out until September which AOL your child has been allocated, but here's how it works. Within each AOL there are 7 tutor groups. These are vertical tutor groups, which means that they have students from Year 7 to Year 11, with around 6 of each year group in the tutor group. This system allows students to make friends with others from year groups above their own, to take advice on matters such as managing homework and revision, and to discuss the important issues such as selecting their options in Year 9. Our tutor time happens at the end of each day, so for 30 minutes, and during that time students can touch base with their tutor, attend assembly if it's their allocated day, cover the discussion topic that's scheduled for that day, and see the group of students who are consistently together during this time. Tutors will seat students in mixed age groups in their tutor group, so there's a real family feel to what goes on in there. We're putting an extra emphasis on the importance of reading at the moment, so at least one tutor period will be dedicated to the tutor guiding the reading of an appropriately challenging text to their whole group. There will also be a prayer and reflection time at the end of each day so that students can finish their day on a calm and thoughtful note. Each AOL also has a pastoral manager, and these staff are hugely important in ensuring that students have a positive experience in school. All staff work very hard to make sure our students are expertly looked after, but there will inevitably be times when some students may struggle. Pastoral managers know the students in their AOL well, are responsible for monitoring attendance and behaviour, and work with student services to provide additional support that may be needed from time to time. They work closely with families if this is required, and meet with parents and students to find a way forward if there are particular difficulties. Your child's pastoral manager will introduce themselves on the first day and tell students where they can be found, so they will always have access to that support. Each AOL also has an area of learning leader whose job it is to lead their AOL in terms of academic monitoring, which is particularly important at GCSE, but we also place the appropriate focus on other year groups as well to ensure students are maintaining a good standard of work and behaviour. The AOL leader is another person that our students can speak to if they're experiencing any difficulty. All the AOL leaders are experienced members of teaching staff, so are well aware of the range of challenges that can present themselves to young people, whether in terms of academic, work or social issues. We have a sixth form at St Gregory's, and this is a very important part of our community. Sixth formers are allocated to each tutor group and can provide additional support for students in each of the year groups. Year 12 start back on the same day as Year 7, so they will introduce themselves to your children without all the other members of the tutor group there, and they can start to get to know each other. As a matter of routine, we run a residential trip to Norfolk each year for Year 7s to get to know other members of the year group in a setting away from school. With all the unpredictability at the moment, owing to variants and not knowing what situation might be in September, we haven't booked this trip for this year. However, I am hoping we may be able to get something scheduled for later in the school year. The routine of the school day and term. At St Gregory's, we operate a 2-week timetable rotation with week A and week B. I've been into a number of our partner primary schools and distributed packs which include an example of a Year 7 timetable, so once your child receives this, they should be a little more familiar with how the system will work. The 2-week timetable means that your child's timetable will not be the same every single week, so they need to be organised and know which week it is, so they pack the right things. It is possible that they might have more than one teacher for some subjects, so if that means they have 2 books for the same subject, then we'll need to be on top of that as well. In order to avoid having to carry all their books around at once, we would advise that students have a place to keep these safe at home, although they can also rent a locker that can be used to keep books, PE kit and so on, so they're not travelling around school with huge heavy bags. We ask that all students have an A4 folder in their bag to contain any loose papers they might be given. This is so that the papers don't end up covered in sandwich or scrunched to the bottom of their bag so that they're unusable. It could be a plastic popper wallet, so it doesn't have to be anything heavy, but it will keep things contained, orderly and dry. We have a student handbook which over the past few years has changed a little as we have made more effective use of our virtual learning environment, or VLE. Subject teachers will set homework on the VLE, so there's no real requirement to write every task in the handbook now. However, it can be useful to note down when there are particular deadlines, and the handbook includes lots of essential information including students' timetable, homework timetable, the homeschool agreement, ideas about how to revise, the page for making parents' evening appointments and much more. It has also spaces to sign in case a student needs to leave a lesson in an emergency, and it's therefore essential that the handbook is brought to school each day, and now we use a smaller format, it's possible to fit it into the blazer pocket, which ensures it's kept handy. As I said, homework is set on My Learning and students should expect at least 1 task per week per subject. The subject teachers will set deadlines for this, and it's important not to let homework stack up and become unmanageable, so doing work on the night it is set is advised. However, we appreciate that many students will have out-of-school commitments and clubs to attend, so it's very rare to have deadlines set for the next day. But that means that some forward planning will be required if a particular evening is taken up with scouts or judo or dance lessons and so on. One of the biggest changes you're likely to be wondering about is the journey to and from school. You may choose to continue to do the school run, in which case please note the best place to drop off and pick up is the car park of the St John's Sports Centre or one of the side streets near there. However, if this is the time that you're going to be allowing your child to walk to school by themselves or get the bus or train, then please ensure that they know where to go to do this. It's also really important that they keep road safety in mind, as we would hate anything to happen to them on the way to or from school. So if they have a mobile phone, then please remind them not to be playing games or texting while walking along, as this can be distracting when they need to pay attention to busy roads. Something that is close to all of our students' hearts is food, and we're fortunate to have a dining room that provides catering before school, at break time and at lunchtime. Building work has now been completed to extend our dining room facility, so there is much more space for students to sit in there and eat their lunch. Students use cashless catering cards to purchase their food, and these should be topped up using Parent Pay, which some of you will be familiar with from primary school. Cards will be issued as soon as possible, but I would recommend that for the first couple of days students bring a packed lunch if possible until they have their card and you've loaded money onto it. There is a break time service. This does get quite busy when all year groups are accessing it during the 20-minute break, so it may be wise to pack something for break time even if you do have a school lunch at lunchtime. If your child is in receipt of free school meals, then you will need to reapply for this, as it doesn't automatically carry over from primary to secondary school. There are also lunchtime clubs available, and further details of these are released during the school year as some are seasonal, but they include coding club, STEM club, various sports clubs and homework club for if students need to do some work in school if they can't do it at home. We also have a fantastic library, and our award-winning librarian, Mrs Stanley, is always on hand to suggest a new book that might fit in with your child's particular interests. We have a small club we call the Haven as well, for students who might want to keep away from the hustle and bustle of the playground or courtyard, and they can arrange to attend this to play board games, use Lego and so on. If your child will use the deaf resource space, then they can go there at lunchtime to access support as necessary. So how can you help as a parent? You'll probably have been pretty heavily involved in your child's school at primary, maybe going in to see assemblies, providing costumes for plays, going to see sports day and so on. This is one of the big differences between primary and secondary school in terms of parental engagement. Whether we like it or not, our young people want to be more independent as they get older, and we need to accept that they're finding their own place in the world. However, this does not mean that they don't need you at all. In fact, far from it, they still need your reassurance and support, maybe even more so, but it will need to be from an appropriate distance. Establishing a routine is one of the most important things you can do, particularly in terms of expectations of sleeping and getting up at the right time. As they become teenagers, this may become more difficult, but the better habits that are in place from an earlier stage, the better chance you should have at maintaining this. If I could suggest one thing here, please, as far as possible, remove all technology from your child's bedroom. It's where they need to switch off and sleep, and might be where they do their homework and revision, so the fewer electronic distractions they have access to, the better. If you can provide them with a shelf or box to keep their schoolwork and books safe, that will help them avoid losing things. If they can have a copy of their timetable on their bedroom wall or wardrobe door, that will help them to pack their bag effectively for the next day. We have an equipment list that you will have received, including a well-stocked pencil case and scientific calculator. Please ensure that they have these and contact the school if there's any difficulty with this. When you talk to your young person, try avoiding questions that they can answer with just yes, no, I don't know. Rather than asking if they had a good day, for example, ask what their favourite part of the day was and why. Ask them what the most interesting thing that they learnt was. If all else fails, you could ask them if there's any gossip, because if nothing else, then that will get them talking, and then you can bring the conversation round to what they did academically. Finally, the most important thing you can do is praise them and encourage them. They will find the first few weeks in particular a complete information overload, so the fact that you're there for them to offload to will be hugely reassuring to them. Before your child starts at St Gregory's, there are some things that you might be able to get in place over the summer to make the shift from primary school to secondary school run more smoothly. You could do the walk, bus or train journey to and from school with them so that they know the best route and time to set out. Agreeing a routine for homework is a good idea too. As I said before, it fits around other commitments that they might have. Ensuring your child has the right contact numbers to call you in case they miss their bus and so on is a good idea. And please can you also update the school if any telephone numbers or email addresses change, as we need to be able to contact you or another named contact in case of emergency. Getting plenty of rest is really important, and having a good routine in the morning can also help to avoid arguments before school that might then affect learning in school. So if there are 7 people to get through the bathroom and your child needs to leave the house by 7:30 a.m, then that will need to be considered. Having equipment named is a massive help in case things are misplaced. Students will be shown where lost property is collected, but if they lose a blazer or tie, there will very likely be lots of these handed in and they all look the same. So naming things is the best solution to this. We use a system called Find My Kit, and details of this will have been sent out, so this is worth considering if you don't currently have name tapes or similar. Curriculum. At St Gregory's, we have maintained the view that a broad and balanced curriculum experience for all students is one of the most important things we can offer. As such, students study the full range of subjects in years 7 to 9 and don't officially start their GCSE courses until year 10, although work in the lower years will be geared towards preparing for those challenges. Students have access to a universal curriculum experience, with the only real difference being whether they study French or Spanish. However, as you'll be aware, we also have our language and football academies that run as part of the EDGE programme on Mondays, and students will be allocated places in these depending on their aptitude. EDGE is a programme devised by the association we've been part of for over 5 years now, Pixel, or Partners in Excellence. It's designed in collaboration with key figures in the business world to provide students with experiences which will give them the edge in terms of their organisational skills, communication skills and resilience. These can be carried on through the school if your child chooses to become an EDGE ambassador. You will receive further information about EDGE at the start of Year 7, but please be assured that it's a really excellent programme and our students thoroughly enjoy it. There is support and extension work in all lessons so that students are provided the correct level of challenge in tasks they're asked to complete. There are curriculum intent statements on our website as well, so if after looking at these you have further queries about the curriculum we cover, then please feel free to email the relevant subject letter by contacting the main office. Attendance. You will be familiar with the idea that attendance is really important in all students' success at school. The DfE have stated that pupils with little to no absence are twice as likely to achieve well at GCSE. Most students will experience some short-term illness at some point in their school career, and unfortunately there may be other circumstances that prevent students from attending. We have a very proactive approach to monitoring attendance through the pastoral managers and student services, and if a student's attendance starts to drop, then we invite parents in to discuss how we can support getting students back into school. We would ask that you work with us in ensuring that your child comes to school on time, every day, and that essential curriculum time is not missed. Student services do some of the most important work around student attendance, but I think it's important that I spend a little time explaining their full role. Student services is a specific area of the school, based in the South Building, which is dedicated to the welfare of our students. It incorporates our medical room, which hopefully won't be needed very often, but it's run by our school first aider, Mrs. Verrill, and at the very least, students will go there for any vaccinations that are administered in school time. There is also our in-school counsellor, Catherine, who's available to speak to students on an arranged basis, and our inclusion room for students who might be returning to school if they have, for example, broken leg and are less able to move around the school to their individual lessons. We're also fortunate to have an excellent student services manager, Mrs. Carter, who not only coordinates all of the services I've just mentioned, but also facilitates events, including parenting groups, which are open to anyone who's finding the world of managing a teenager that little bit more difficult than they had anticipated. Student services is an integral part of the school and is another place where students can go if they're feeling a bit insecure, whether this is in their first weeks here or at any point in the future. Rewards. We all like to be told we're doing a good job every now and again, and our students are certainly no exception to this. Teachers have high expectations, but they recognise students' efforts in meeting these through issuing commendations. We use an electronic system called ClassCharts to record this, and I would strongly encourage you to download the accompanying app, as this will then alert you each time your child receives a commendation. I'd strongly suggest that you do not attach any kind of material or financial award to this, because students should really want to do well for the sake of doing well. But if you do choose to offer your child an incentive to work hard, then please be realistic about it. And giving an additional 30 minutes of gaining time or letting them off from doing the washing up are all good rewards if you're looking for a low-cost alternative. Contacting the school. As I said before, we need to be able to contact you in case of an emergency, but you may also want to contact us. Absences should be called into the absence line, which is offered as part of the options when you call the main school phone line. Alternatively, you could use the StudyBugs app, which feeds information straight through to the school. You might want to contact a member of staff via email, in which case sending this through to the office in the first instance is the best thing to do, as they will forward it on to the correct person or team. Please be aware that the first and main responsibility of all of our staff is to ensure the safety and education of all our students, so staff members may not respond to your email immediately. However, they will endeavour to get back to you at the earliest opportunity, and there are other chances to speak to staff face to face, including at parents' evenings and at the Year 7 tutor meeting, which takes place a few weeks into the autumn term. Dates for the diary. I'm sure you'll appreciate that it's quite difficult at this point to give any firm dates for further meetings or events, including things like tryouts for the Football Academy, but please keep an eye on the school website and your emails for any further notices that are issued in relation to this. I really hope the information I've just given you is useful and that it has covered some of the things you might have been wondering. If you have any further queries, please can you send these via the admissions officer, Mrs. Burgess, and she will forward them on to the relevant staff member. I would like to wish you all a very positive end to this academic year in whatever way it pans out, and I sincerely look forward to meeting you all in school as soon as we can to start the exciting journey at St Gregory's together. God bless.